Hey guys, we're still live. It's my fault. Had an allergy emergency. No, I was just running a little late. But yeah, my eye is freaking red as heck. But
Really?
yeah, we're good to go now.
Zyrtec, baby.
I know, dude. But the thing is, it doesn't help if you just take one. Like you have to take it.
Oh, I live on that stuff.
You have to take it like every day for it to work.
Oh yeah. Like when I travel, so when I travel or do anything outside of my normal space, it's a Zyrtec,
Yeah.
half an Imodium, and a multivitamin and gummies. And not the good kind, the
Yeah.
multivitamin or the vitamin C slash whatever the hell.
Oh,
That
like emergency.
yes, that crap.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
take 2 different types of that crap. So it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's
But
what I
yeah,
need to do
it's
too.
it's dude, it's that time, man. Too much
That's it.
weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the kind that grows from the grass and like little dandelions. Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. So other than that, you okay, man? Everything good?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just running up to the last minute. Yeah.
Well, no, you passed the last minute.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dude, so while I was
I would have
waiting, I
went
was
longer
reading.
if you didn't call.
Oh, really?
Dude, I completely lost track of time.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So I was reading a story while I was waiting, and obviously we'll talk about it on the news tomorrow. But JP apparently is going to start selling down for sound amplifiers at retailers.
I seen that on CE Outlook. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That's that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to change her business model at all or not. Or
I mean,
I
honestly,
assume not much, but
no.
you never know.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I've there should be a balance
Right.
between online and brick and mortar. I mean, I don't, I know some people might find it hard to believe, but believe it or not, being in a brick and mortar store does add legitimacy to a brand
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
because it gives a third party perspective on that product. So I mean, and also the other thing too is like, in there again, he has tons of fans. He has tons of
Yeah.
fans, but the retail store is your first line cheerleader. You know, they're the first guys with the pom poms. They're the first. You know, they're the introduction in a lot of cases to products is still to this day. So I mean, whether it be car audio or anything else, I mean, the salesman is what introduces you to these things.
Well, I feel like it'll help them expand because right now they're reaching like a core base head community,
Yeah.
people that are fans of the channel and stuff. But this way, maybe they'll get people that are just in for a deck and four of yesteryear. You know, they just want a simple upgrade, and they may be able to capture those guys that never even heard of Down for Sound.
Well, I mean, yes, 100%. I mean, and there again, it's a it's unique. You know, being obviously working in a brick and mortar for the last 30 plus years, it's a different perspective, and it has changed. It has just drastically changed, obviously, from day one to day two, but or year one to year 33. But you know, we've also seen a lot of mistakes and a lot of changes and a lot of manufacturers that do certain things, and honestly, a lot of them don't learn shit. So
Yeah,
it's kind of amusing. We always have that conversation. So
yeah,
it's funny.
you definitely got to have a balance. Like if you start, that's the thing. Like if you start selling it, and you've seen plenty of people do it, where they're selling it cheaper online
Oh yeah.
themselves than a dealer can sell for. It's
Well, yeah,
just
they devalue their own product, which just
right.
blows my mind. Like, why
Yeah,
would you do that? Like, if everybody's willing to pay $100 for it, sell for $100.
yeah,
It's that
exactly. Yeah,
simple. You know, I thought was funny was how he was talking about, and I'm giving away the news tomorrow, which really sucks, but um, how he's like going to strictly enforce the map pricing.
yeah,
And I'm like, this is funny because it's usually the other way where a retailer has no problem with map pricing. Like we
right.
want every bit of map pricing because we have lights to pay for and insurance and every little thing under the sun. So every piece of map is important. And it's the online guys that don't have this stuff that
Right.
map pricing just goes out the window because it's like, well, I got one guy, so I could take
Yeah.
$20 off, no big deal.
Well, and I think in their branding specifically, they're kind of mid-market instead of, so they're not on the lowest end, they're not on the highest end. They're like a for the far as base head stuff goes, like a value, like a more quality value brand
Yeah.
than say Scar. Let's just I'll say Scar.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll take your word on it. I mean, I you know, because
yeah,
you know, sounds good.
yeah,
I got nothing. I got nothing.
yeah,
I haven't had a chance, you know, other than to go, oh, look, it's pretty. You know, I
yeah,
haven't looked
yeah.
at one, haven't touched one.
And I really don't have much about against Scar, anyways. It's a budget brand. You know, it depends on it. It meets the budget expectations, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has become the new, you know, it's the new. Hey, I got $150. What can I get?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and there again, that's that we've always needed that product. We've always had that product. Um, it's the gateway drug that gets you in. Um, you know, yeah, sure you can.
Yeah.
Um, there's plenty of stuff out there that, anyways, I know he's being funny, but you know, and there again, it's the gateway drug. I need a gateway drug that can get you into car audio, so that then you'll hit the wall eventually, and you'll be like, what if I got something really new, or really better, or what is this stuff? Like when I start getting grown up money, I guess is what they always say. I don't know what that means, but
Right.
you know, they always say, well, when I get some grown up money, you know, okay, so you know, just if you got 4 kids, you're never gonna have grown up money. Yeah.
It's like, you know, you just compare cameras. You might start off with a M200. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is pretty cool, you know.
Or a rebel, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Or
rebel.
and then the deeper you get into it, you're like, ooh, actually,
Yeah, you hit the wall.
you know, that new R50 is looking pretty dope. And
Yeah,
then
what's
maybe you
this?
step to there, and then maybe you're like Dean, and you go full R6, and at some point it's like, whoa, where'd that go?
Or a one DX.
Yeah.
You know. I got one of those too. So here. No.
Uh,
Well, yeah, but in there again, you know, but I mean, you know, back in the '80s, you know, that was it. You know, you made an extra $100. You found out what you could buy for $100. You
right.
know,
Yeah.
wish I had grown up money. Right, me too. Trust me,
Yeah.
me too. And I wish I
Yeah.
didn't have extra grown-ups taking my money, but you know, it's what it
Well, yeah,
is.
that's
You know,
life.
yeah, it is. It is. You know, and hey, it's
Yeah.
the joy. It's the joy on people's face. Everyone
Yeah.
go out and buy an IRTA too. They're still $25 off. Use
RTA.
coupon code Xmas.
Speaking of which,
Yes,
the audio control video you did
yes.
is probably the best representation on video that I've ever seen of how um, loudness works.
Thank you. I've been
Because
dying to do that.
yeah, like nobody understands how loudness works. I didn't until you explained several months ago how loudness worked. I didn't fully understand how loudness worked.
Right.
So
We, you know,
that video, if you haven't watched it, you guys got to watch it.
well, and it's funny because I've always wanted to do just a basic video on loudness, just explaining dynamic EQ, aka loudness, and I still might just do like, hey guys, everyone that like poo poos loudness,
Right.
let me show you what it actually is, and then you can decide to, you know. And then like one guy was like, why don't you just boost the mid range? And it's like, you didn't hear the part where I said the human ear hears things in a specific way, and by boosting, you know, we hear mid range. So when you adjust loudness up, like when you saw that curve, your
Right.
ear is actually hearing everything at a level amount, like the mid range, the treble, and the bass. Your ear is perceiving them as level, you know,
Right.
and that's what those guys figured out. They were like, you know, if you were to play test tone at different frequencies, and you at low levels, you're not going to hear as well. And so if you apply what they figured out to a low level signal, then yeah, it's like they're just mapping how the ear hears, and then they're applying that to a dynamic EQ. So as the power goes up and it starts to get louder, where our ears can start to perceive things easily, then there's no reason for it.
Right. Right.
So,
And like, can you just imagine like a boosted mid sound?
oh yeah, yeah. It's called every car that has loudspeakers.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean it's every car that has loud. It's like take 500 hertz and break the fucking knob off.
Yeah.
And,
It's just
and
horrifying.
I was telling a buddy of mine a story this week that when I came to work at 5 Star, I'd done 4 loudspeakers in a car, and that was it. And it was in a Jeep, and the guy had original Solo X like Andy has. It was an 18, put it in the back of a Jeep Wrangler, and the only thing we had 2 closed backs and 2 open back 6.5s in the display case for I don't know what reason. And I said, let's throw these things in there. I bet you they got to be loud. So I made a box, put those 4 speakers in it, and that was it. And I was like, these sound terrible, but whatever. But coming to Paul's at 5 Star, he did stuff like this, and he had these customers, and we don't have them anymore, but because I scared them all off, because I just,
Yeah.
What do you want? What are you, stupid? Oh, and you're like, oh, sorry, my bad. But I put a radio in, and I tuned it all up, and dude, this guy was so pissed. Man, this sounds like shit. You did a crappy job. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about, man? And a buddy of Paul's was up there that used to work with him. And he's like, hey, everyone just calm down. Let me go take a listen to it. He walks out there and he grabs 1,000 hertz and 500 hertz. He goes, whoop. And I go, the fuck are you doing? He goes,
You ruined
trust
it.
me. He goes, hey, man, take a listen now. Damn, that's the magic man right there. That's the magic man. He knows what he's doing. You don't know shit. And I'm like, you're right. I don't know shit. Sorry, man. Tell all your friends I don't know shit.
Never come back.
For the love of God.
Oh.
So yeah, that was always, and I never, it was great because I was like, yeah, I don't have, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
And I've like helped people that they're not in audio at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got into their car with their factory settings.
Oh yeah.
And dude, like I've been into some of them that they were totally on point. It sounded really good, and I was like, "You never done audio anything? Home audio, nothing in the headphones?"
Yeah.
No. I like the way it sounds like this. Like,
yeah.
I mean, man, you're a natural.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? I mean, listen, if you give people adjustments, they're going to turn the dials, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you have different types of people that turn dials. You have people that turn dials because there's dials in front of them, and if they're not turned, then they feel like they didn't get their value.
Yeah.
So they're just turning them to turn them. Okay. They're no other reason. They don't know if it sounds any better. I got knobs. I'm going to turn them. Then you have the guy that you put knobs in front of him, and he just assumes he has to turn them all the way up in order to get any performance out of it because he paid for them. And so the knobs and we get those guys all the time. It sounds like crap. I don't know what I'm doing. You go in, it's like bass, treble, they're all the way up. And I'm like, you just turn these down. You're literally distorting. Oh, is that what I'm doing?
Yeah. I paid for 1,000 watts.
Oh, wow. You're right. That does sound good, but it's not as loud. But yeah, you don't have, And then you have a guy that's like, you give him a dial, he's going to turn it and go, nope, no, okay. Turn the next dial. Nope, no. Oh, okay. And and he's going to just by accident figure out what he likes.
Why would you pay for the whole gain of an amp and only use a third of it?
I'm only at 12 o'clock, man. I'm only at 12 o'clock.
Yeah. I still got half
5 hour energy, and we'll crank this bitch up all the way.
Still got half gain, bro.
Still got half gain. I can go so much higher on the gain.
Right.
No, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I don't fault somebody that's not in audio speaking like that. But if you've been around and had systems and you're still talking like that, like,
well, yeah, but it's funny. I don't think the guys that are in audio don't talk like that because you don't hear anybody sitting there going like you don't hear a complete.
They don't understand it. Yeah.
Going, what's they're just going, what is this for? And they're scared of it. They're like, I don't know what this does, but when I turn it, bad things seem to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then don't turn it. Oh, okay. You sure? Yeah. Just leave it down. It's fine. It's totally cool. It's like someone asking us how to set up a Rockford P300 subwoofer. Where do I set the knobs? Well, they come all the way down. We'll leave them there. Well, no, you don't understand. Just leave them all over there. They don't do shit. Okay, they legit don't do shit. I've even told Rockford, do me a favor, put all the knobs there, but like just make this subwoofer 80 hertz. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can put 53, just put a fixed 80 with a knob that doesn't do shit. The gain, I don't know, it's like what a volt difference between all the way up and all the way down. I mean, it literally does nothing.
Yeah.
And then you have punch bass,
Bass
which
boost. Yeah.
it must be like a 1 dB punch bass boost or some shit like that. Cause it's like, and I'm like, just leave it. It literally is the only product that I've ever had that it doesn't matter what I put it in. Just never touch anything. And whether you're doing a high level, low level, factory radio, aftermarket radio, it doesn't fucking care. It sounds identically the same, and it puts out a shit ton of bass. And you're just like, okay, yeah, you flick the switch high or low, and how you want it to turn on remote, turn on style, and that's it. You walk away from it. You know, I always get, oh, what do I got? Just leave them the fuck down. They don't change anything. They don't do shit. You know, it's not even like a real amplifier.
I bought a Sony system a while when I first got back into audio. So this was like 2011 or something like that. And it was a DSP amp, but you can't control anything. And then a subwoofer. It was like the UMD or something like that. It was a system.
Yeah.
And you can set it like small car, medium car, large car.
Yeah.
There's no gain, no nothing. So it's just a few buttons. And that was it. And it was like a factory subwoofer. Like a car didn't have a factory subwoofer. So it was simple enough. But it did power your front speakers, which did make a difference. So you got 45x4 instead over the factory head unit. So that did make the biggest difference. The sub was like a factory sub.
Dude, I was doing and we'll get to the sub question in a minute. But this week we were doing a Toyota Camry where we had to build dash kit and do all this, basically build everything for the car because apparently they don't make anything for this car. And oh wow, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, dude. Old man moment, capture it, replay it.
Totally old man moment. Shit, yeah, no, it'll come back to me. Wow. there was a story there, and it was so anyways, it came back. So we used it. So we put an Alpine 509 in it because we needed a single DIN that went off to a big touchscreen. Yeah. And we powered. He had some CT sounds that he brought with him. We put those in the rear and powered those off the radio and add crossover delay, whatever, to it. And when I first powered it up, I was like, holy crap, these things are so loud. It was like, I'm like going into the crossover because there's a level control in the crossover and I have it to the floor. I'm playing with it and we put a DSR1 in it. So we got it all tuned up and I'm like, wait a minute. Oh crap, I forgot. There's a software update for this Alpine. So right now they're shipping with software 2.0, but they're on software 5.0.
Oh.
Okay. And I don't mean like 1.0.5. I mean like fucking 5.0. They are from 2 to 5. This is like unheard of. Like nobody does this. Nobody legit changes the first number. It's always like 1.15.2, 1.16.4. This is 5.0 point whatever, and it's like, wow, it's a big update. It takes like between the download, it's like a 3 gig update, which is like not like unheard of. So I did the software update and I was like, I turned it back on, it resets the radio. I was like, holy shit. Like the amount of tweaking they did to the DSP in this radio to control the output of that amplifier, because the output of the amplifier was just railing. And it went from like, to like now normal listening. I was like, oh, fuck. Wow, they actually like
fixed it.
I hadn't even noticed because we always do just preamp out. We never use the power, but they went in and they actually fixed the output of the radio
That's cool.
to fix the way the amp sounded. And I was like, holy shit. Wow, good job. I guess
something right. Yeah.
Well, and then you sit there and immediately I go, why the fuck did it ship out like that in the first place? Those dumbasses. I got 100 watts on the front. This little 15 watt amplifier was just destroying them. I mean, it sounds like shit.
Right.
I mean, I got
30% THD. It's all good.
man, dude, it was bad. I was like, holy! I had to turn those like all the way down. It was just so nasty. I wish we had more choices in amplifiers without the BS simple RCA Tosh inputs and a gain control that it's done. So so like the Morel amps, the new limited edition 45th anniversary is old school mono stereo amplifier. So it's 2 mono amps in a stereo configuration with 2 gain knobs, no crossovers, no nothing. So it's just left, right gains for each, left and right gain, and that's it. No.
And those were the high, like back in the day, all the high ends were like that. But
Yeah,
I would in 2011 or 2012 when I got back into it, I would be more in that camp. I think now, as things progressed, I would like to have a DSP in every single amplifier I have. Like
100%. Everything should have a DSP. I
Right.
don't want anything that doesn't have a DSP. Affordable. Oh, sorry. I mean,
Yeah, good luck with that.
my bad. I mean, yeah, no, I got nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I like them. I'd like every amplifier I have to have DSP.
I mean, honestly, if I could, everyone should have a Moscone 830. End of story. Done. That's it. Everyone should have a Moscone 830.
I agree. Let's talk about Moscone. Let's see if they can lower their prices by half.
That never happened because then it wouldn't be a Moscone 830.
Yeah,
it would be everyone else's piece of crap. It's like, I mean, legit. That's just it. I mean, they have. They're starting to change all the amplifiers now. So like the new 610 that we've been talking about has the new DSP software in it. And I'm anxious to see if they're going to replace that 90.8, which is the 90 watt AB class with the DSP in it.
Oh, that's a pretty big one then.
It's small though. It's not really big, okay. and it's not crazy priced.
Yeah.
But it's 90 by 8 with a DSP and it's AB. And it sounds so good.
Yeah, I like the Moscone. I've had some of the bigger Moscones, mostly from the AS. I haven't had a 0. I always wanted 0, but I
want a 0 too.
Never had 0 money.
I want a 0, but I want a 0.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, if you have 0 money, you don't got 0 money.
No. Well, that's the scary thing because I look at it and go, I really like what they do with the Pro.
I like the Pros.
The Pro to me is. And that's always you ever notice that like with any brand, it's like here's the flagship that is so awesome, but they haven't touched it in so long.
Yeah,
and it's like no, for sure. Power series, dude. That's what we put in this guy's car. As soon as this guy was like, "You guys, we can do power series amplifiers," I was like, "Yeah, we're putting new radio in. We do whatever we want." And he goes, "I want power series amplifiers." I was like, "All right, 604 AB class 604 and the 1500.1." I mean,
and outside of not having a DSP, I mean those amps were doing things that are still amps are still trying to keep up to them,
Oh no, 100%. I mean, and they still do. Like, there's very few amplifiers that compete with the power series amplifiers of 20 years,
right? Yeah,
they're still like, and that was one of the things we talked about with Rockford because I was like, have you guys ever thought about actually telling people like I get it. You don't want to change the amplifier because in this market, the power series amplifier isn't really what we're moving forward with. We're looking at the mini power amplifiers. Now they're the M series amplifiers because they're marine. Compact, small, powerful amplifiers. I get it, but like, you have all this tech. Let's talk about it. Let's revitalize. Let's educate. Let's bring people back into why it was Rockford Fosgate. Let's talk about that shit. And speaking of that, if you got to have one subwoofer, T3 Rockford subwoofer is the woofer to have because that's a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know.
Well, there's, speaking of things that changed much forever, is the W7s, which I still think's one of the best subwoofers out.
One of the best. Listen, W7, W6, W3 are still kicking ass, taking names.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. W7 is still a magical woofer.
Yeah. You can get louder. You can get louder, you can get some that sound better, but it's hard to get that middle ground that they seem to find with that sub.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a revolutionary design. There's still nobody that's doing it, probably because they have the patent on it, but that hasn't stopped anybody else from copying shit. So it's probably just not worth it. You know, like, it's way too hard. You know.
Yeah.
It's really probably what it came down to. Like, oh, that's way too hard. We don't want to deal with that crap. Yeah, W7 for SQ and SPL is hard to beat. 100%. I mean, it was funny too, because I always thought the W7 was the SPL driver. Come to find out, it was the W6. Because I'm not a JL guy, and talking with Jeff Smith, it was like, oh no, it was W6, and I was like, really? It's like, oh yeah. I'm like, but the W7 just looks like that's the woofer. He's like, oh no, it is, but it's also got better sound quality. And I was like, didn't see that one. Didn't see that as the option on the table.
Yeah. Well, it's like the kicker. When they had the Q class before, and then they had below it the L7S, which actually, like, I got a lot more output out of the L7S than the Q class, but thought the Q class sounded a little bit better, a little bit more refined, maybe.
Yeah. So, switching into how many subs is the right amount do you need? I mean, the real answer is enough to give you what you want. I mean, if that's always the struggle. It's like, listen, if 2 ain't doing for you, you're gonna need 4. And if 2 small ones aren't enough for you, then you're gonna need 2 big ones. I mean, I don't think this is one of those things where you can actually, like Blake says, all of them. I need all of them. I need all of them DBs. How do I get to the DBs that I want? And that's always the question. Like, from my side, trying to get through to a customer, it's like, what did you have in the past? What have you had? And like, I've had 2 8s, I've had 2 10s, I've had 4 10s, I've had 2 15s many a times. I've had 2 12s, I've had 4 10s, I've had 4 10s isobaric, I've had 4 10s bandpass, I've had 4 10s in a wedge, I've had 2 10s in a truck box, I've had 2 10s in a ported box, I've had 2 10s in a bandpass, I've had 8s in a bandpass, I've had 8s in a ported box, I've had 15s in a ported box, and I've had 1 10 in a bandpass, and I've had 1 8 in a bandpass, and I've had 2 6.5s in a bandpass, and it's like, at the time, those were the right subs to do what I needed them to do. But now Haley's rocking that freaking Diamond Audio spare tire sub, and I think just as Brian says, volume wise, it's killing it.
Yeah,
and I have to preface that because I said, "Dude, this thing sounds great," and he goes, "Does it? Does it really?" And I go, okay, let me rephrase that so I'm politically correct with the people in the vehicle. The volume that's coming out of this thing and the deep bass that it's putting out for what we're listening to, top 40 in country, it's a very impressive subwoofer for the fact that I still have all the cargo space in the back. And he goes, if that is the limitations, then yes, I would agree 100%. And I was like, you suck.
Oh man.
When you get old, 1 sub is the answer because you don't want to give up the space for more. And so that's the funny part is, like, this, like I said, the Camry we just got done, he went with 2 CT Towns 8s. Our guy Sean Big Red made this ported box for it, and it's not a big box, it's big, but it's like shallow down and whatever, and it's got a T 1500.1 BD 1500.1 on it. So
that probably ripped.
Fucking A, man. And he's like, yeah, I was thinking about doing some sound treatment in the rear, and I was like, all right, we'll listen to it when we're done. And dude, the back of this car is just like, there's no like sound treatment you're gonna put in the back of this thing to keep it from rattling. I mean, every piece of plastic on metal is just going, I hate you, I hate you, I hate, and you're just going,
Have you seen the video where the dude's sitting by the door stopper?
Yes,
it's like cars from the 80s. Like,
dude,
that's what you're sounding like.
I love that. That was one of those happy moments in my life this week.
Yeah,
I mean, there wasn't that many of them, but that one made me giggle like a motherfucker because I heard it before I saw it. Like, Fernando was playing it, and he's over there laughing, and I'm like, I'm thinking it's one of the shitty sound demo videos that we all get to watch, but we all love because their hair is going, and I was like, oh shit, that's freaking hilarious. Another one that always got us back then was UPS trucks. So when the UPS truck would drive by in the back, we had a big wall and it would radiate off that. And they were like, bro, they ain't nothing like that UPS truck bass, man. Because the engine would just be like, and you're like, where's that bass coming from? And you look out the back, UPS truck is driving by and it's just the exhaust. And you're going, well, that's pretty legit.
Oh, dude, when the exhaust rotted out in the Trooper, let me tell you, I passed a long fence. Oh, I was basing hard.
Oh, yeah. I have a Mustang now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've always been I don't know when this started or why this started, but I do prefer one sub for whatever reason. I can usually get enough bass to make me happy.
Yeah.
With one sub, and sometimes I could take up more space. The Solo X one sub the box takes literally the whole back of the Trooper, so not good in that scenario. But most of the time, one sub is plenty for me.
So I absolutely hate 3 subwoofer configurations.
Like the W6s back in the day.
They piss me off. They're the dumbest thing ever. And the only thing dumber than 3 is 6. Because it's just as dumb. So, but here's the funny part. So Sage over at Sounds Good Stereo did a Mustang where they put 3 of the Focal Flax 10-inch subs in the spare tire well of his buddy's Mustang. And I was like, God damn it. I hate you, Sage. Because now I want that box. And I've told him I want that box. And he's like, I can build it for you, but you're going to have to, because we didn't map it. And I go, I don't care. I want that box. Stop being so busy so you can make that box. Take it easy, Fro. Dean H 6 woofers. So in there again, JL, not being a JL dealer, JL was the only one that really solved that issue because of the 6-ohm woofer. That is fine. The problem is that everyone that didn't understand JL and didn't understand that JL was making the 6-ohm woofer would walk in and go, bro, I saw this dude and he had those subs and there's 3 of them in the car. I want to do the same thing, but I have these woofers. And you're like,
can't do it. Can't do it, brother.
The reason why it works with those is because they're 6-ohm woofers. I don't know what that means. Clearly. Because if you did, you wouldn't be buying these POSs. You'd have bought those. And then we could have done that.
Yeah.
And then I go, all right, well, the easiest way to do this, right? And like, what? We just put 3 sub amps in. How much would that cost? Doesn't matter. It's how we're going to do it. Because we're not going to get the right ohm load. We're going to get some fucked up ohm load. And it's like,
too low or too high. You're not getting all the power. You're blowing it up.
Yeah. Well, so you got to go too low. Or I'm sorry, you got to go too high so that if you got to get like a 1 ohm amp, you're going to run it at some weird ohm load where it's not going to give you all its watts.
6.6 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to get all the watts out of the amp. No, man. Oh, bro, what do I got to do to get all the watts? Buy 1 more sub.
Yeah. And I always liked the 3, so not in practicality, but just seeing them. So the first 3 sub system I seen was 3 18W6s in the back of the truck. Yeah. And it was
that would be cool.
It was absurd. And I was like, wow, 3 subs. This is a novel concept that I never considered before this moment.
So the first thing I did when I worked at AVE, like this is like the first project we did. The installer, a friend of mine, Nathan, that works for Amp Global now, he had a Bonneville. So this was in 90. This is 1990. And we were a big Orion dealer, which we all know. And so as soon as he worked there, he's like, I get employee purchase. So he bought, 2 Orion Beasts and 8 XTR 15s. So we built a W wall with 8 15s in the backseat of this Bonneville. And it probably took us like 2 weeks to build these boxes because he's insanity. His insanity is only, it makes my insanity look like it makes me look normal. And like he had a 3-ring binder that had like 27 pages of cut sheets of how we were going to cut each individual piece to make this box. And oh, it was insane. It was so insane. Damn. And when we got done with it, he hadn't taken into consideration, he thought this through so well, and he hadn't thought about weight. So that car just went, yeah, it was bad. It was funny, but that was interesting.
It kind of makes me think, was there like a sub combo amp combo that was big in your area? So I'll start with mine. It was JL Audio subs. At the time, I don't believe they sold amps. So this is before the Slash.
Right. Yeah.
And this is what brought it up. So and it's in Fort Smith area, and this was the combo: JL Audio subs, Phoenix Gold amps.
Yeah. So
that was one of the combos.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So here, there was us, which was the Orion dealer. And then right down the street was this place called Auto Audio, where a buddy of mine works. We're still friends. And they sold Rockford. So, Orion was a big bandpass. Everything was bandpass. Right, so everything got 210s and some kind of amp. So it was usually they couldn't afford they couldn't afford the Orion amp because by then the American Power was just, even at that point the American Power was getting to be too expensive. So it was usually like an Alpine or a JBL or something like that. But it was always 210s and a bandpass, 210s and a band, and we blew up so many fucking 10s, man. God,
were those at that time? Were they still lifetime warranty?
Yeah.
Because I remember Orion was like on their subs.
Actually, one of my first jobs was to handle the shipping. So, like Friday morning, I would come in and I would spend like the first 2 hours of my day just inventorying everything to go out for shipping. We were spending thousands of dollars in shipping. It was like, I don't mean to be weird, but what if we just built 212 ported boxes like Auto Audio is doing down the street for their Rockford woofers? Because it doesn't seem like they're having a lot of failures. Yeah. No, man. We got to build band passes. Band passes sound the best. Okay.
So you guys were building the band passes. You weren't using the factory Orion band passes?
No, we were building their band pass. And then so we started out building their band passes, and then the box builder that taught me how to build boxes, he's one of those guys that just can build anything. His name was Bill, and he's he was on Monster Garage. He's done all kinds of shit. Like and now he builds freaking Mandalorian armor and goes around to Star Wars conventions. But he's just one of those guys. Like he's got like a vacuum forming machine, so he like makes parts for cars and shit. He's always been the super creative guy, but he's like squirrel.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. So he would always try to find a better way to do shit, make a better mousetrap. So by the time we were into building band passes, we had it down to such a fine science. Like we could whip these things out like nothing. And then he turned it over. He's like, I got to get out of here. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. Cool. I'm so excited you're leaving. I'm going to take over. I can't wait. Yes. And so then it was like, and at that point, once I took over, I was like, thank God the XTR was starting to go away and the band passes were starting to die out. And it was like, how about if we just build 212 ported?
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like, and so,
and then many years later, I'm never building a box again.
Hang on. Keep talking.
Yeah. Those those band, like the Orion factory band pass boxes, those things were really cool, and it was really my first experience with a band pass box. You had a limited, bandwidth with them, but the part that they did play in, they really got down. So I think the ones that I played with were somewhere like 45 hertz to like 80, maybe a little higher.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that we started working with it, and towards the end, we had it like we'd figured out, like, we had built so many band passes that it was like we had it dialed in, like the ratio, how big the port should be. Like if you're doing a slot port, one of the things that always screws up a slot port is the width of the slot port.
Yep.
And everyone is always like, oh, so like, you know, slot port, if you have a 15-inch front, but let's say math says it only needs to be 3/4 of an inch open, that's not going to work ever, because it's,
yeah, you got to figure out the cross sectional area, or it's
it's not that, it's too thin. It would be too thin. So like, you know, if the math came out and it was like, oh, it needs, and it's like the air won't move through that slit like it will a tube. So even if you know, we were like, okay, so we found out that the minimum opening for any port, minimum opening, no matter how tall the box was, would have to be at least an inch, because at an inch it would move enough air to actually work, you know, and it wouldn't change the tuning frequency too much, even though it's bigger than it's supposed to be. But just because of the back pressure of the opening, it would work. And it was just the weirdest thing, because we'd build one and we're like, it sounds like total dog shit. And you know, we kept fucking with it and was like, oh shit, if we just like start at an inch, it's great. Now you can be bigger than an inch if you were shortening the box, but the minimum that it could be open was an inch. And then we started figuring out if we inset the divider so that, you know, because the ports always came to the center, and if you inset the divider about 3 inches and open the front up more instead of having them perfectly level at the front, that would help. That would totally change the sound, because it's like it's kind of like an exhaust, a Y pipe for exhaust, and it would like, holy fuck, you know. And those were the fun things that we started to do. And then we took that over into the ported enclosures. We started doing ported enclosures, because it basically works the same too. When you're doing a slot port, it just, if the port is too thin, it doesn't matter if it's if it's the actual what you need. And so then it was like, okay, we started shrinking the openings, you know, because it was like, because sometimes it just didn't make sense. Like if you had a 15 and you had a 16.5-inch front and you were building a slot port in the front, and it was like, you know, I was like, oh man, this was starting to get dumb. And so you're like, all right, well, let's stack it up so that maybe the port opening comes down 3 inches. And, you know, it just started, it was like, okay. And that's when it was fun, and I actually cared about making boxes. And, you know, we would figure this shit out. And then after that, you know, so what would happen is after we sold Orion, we went to Image Dynamic. And we sold Rockford, and we sold Soundstream, and we sold Kicker, but there was always one subwoofer that the owner just always had a hard on for. And it was always some obscure subwoofer. It was never like, Orion was the first one. But even when we had Rockford and Kicker, we would just buy the factory boxes. It made no sense to build boxes for them, because they sounded like crap, and anyone else, you know, was like, oh God, let's just use their box. So, but we always had this obscure, you know, we would, because we wanted to be unique. So we started with Image Dynamic, and we had a lot of luck with them. And then we moved on to Image Dynamic is still good. It's still the same. So Image Dynamic is owned by Powerbase now, but the guy that designed the woofers worked for Powerbase. And so when you look at the ID Max woofer, those are still hand built by him. They finally told him, hey, you need an assistant. And he was like, no. You need an assistant. You can't do this by yourself. You know, we need more than what you're doing. And so there's 2 guys, and they build all the ID Maxes. And that's, so yeah, it's a badass woofer. It was a badass woofer when they first came out with it, and it's still a badass woofer now. And it uses technology in the surround that, because it does this weird rolling thing that allows it to have a bigger cone area. And the guy figured, yeah. So he figured it out when he was in the bathroom taking a shit, because he was trying to figure, because that, you know, if you think, that was back when Sunfire, remember the Sunfire woofers that had, and so he was an engineer, and he's like, this is the dumbest thing ever, because we're losing so much cone mass to the surround. And, you know, you could argue that any way you want. I'm not a speaker engineer. I don't know. This is him telling us back then. And he's like, so it was pissing me off because he was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So he's in the bathroom taking a shit and he's staring at the towel holder and he's looking at it and he grabs the towel and he starts doing this. And he's like, how do I create a surround that works just like this towel does on this bar? So, you know, when you look at a towel on a bar and you pull it up, and you pull it down, it goes down. And the surround moves like that, you know,
Yeah.
because the towel is moving. But a surround typically doesn't do that. Surround just typically lifts. You know, it doesn't roll. And so he figured out how to make a rolling surround so that they could have a bigger cone area to make the woofer louder. And they still make that woofer today. And it's still fucking badass. And it's still one of those woofers that, like, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't know. And it's, you know, it's in there again, it falls in that category of some idiot going, I use the term idiot very politely and very kindly, as somebody that doesn't know shit, going, oh, fuck those woofers. That guy don't know shit about woofers. That ain't got a triple stack, quadruple core, you know, whatever magnet on it. And it's like, no, dude, it's tech. It's all tech. It's all tech and it's all badass. You know?
Yeah.
And
Those. I mean, the ID Max was awesome. It was up there with the W7 back in the day for me, you know, and they're still making them today just like a W7. So
yeah, so you can still buy them. So anyways, after Image Dynamic ran into some financial difficulty, so we moved away from Image Dynamic and we went into Diamond. The original Diamond was backed by Max Factor, the makeup dude. He was a neighbor of one of the guys, and Diamond was making computer speakers for compact. So all their money was coming from compact computer speakers, and they had a side job of making home audio drivers. And then they decided to start selling car audio drivers. And the M5, which was the first aluminum cone woofer that kind of made them, they didn't put tinsel leads on them.
Really?
Yeah. So what they did is they took the voice coil leads and they put little pieces of heat shrink over them and then soldered those onto the terminals, because a home audio woofer, it doesn't move a lot.
Right.
Okay, because it doesn't need to. It's in a very efficient box. You got a lot of AC power going to it. It's not sitting there going like this. Whereas you put in a car, we put 1,000 watts on that bitch, and it's going swing for the fences, motherfucker. You know, and so these things were popping like popcorn, man. And so that led to the M6, which was them going back to the engineer and going, hey, listen, I know you know what you're doing. However, we keep getting these things back, and the only thing that's wrong with them is the tinsel leads don't exist anymore. Could we actually put some tinsel leads on these? And they were like, I don't understand how this is happening. You know, because you know how engineers are. I understand how this. What are these guys doing to these woofers? Why don't we take you into a car stereo store and we'll let you see what they're doing? Oh yeah, we should probably put some tinsel leads on these. It's like speaker design 101. You know, and then like Diamond ran into some so when Compact went out of business, that was pretty much it for Diamond.
Right.
You know, they had a couple, I mean, in there again, that was what really happened. Who knows? What they were telling us was that the other thing, like they had the Helix. No, what was it? Hex. They had hex cones.
Mm-hmm.
So the hex was the big cool cone with the cool carbon honeycomb, and they were getting those made by a ski manufacturer. And so the ski manufacturer only makes skis half of the year because they don't make them when nobody buys them. So they were looking for something to build, so they built these speaker cones. And so awesome. And then when they went to reorder, and they were like, yeah, we'll get them for you in 4 months. And they're like, 4 months? What the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, we're doing our primary business now, so we can't get those to you for another 4 months. And they're like, yeah, Hexatech, yeah. And they're like, sorry, man, no. So
sorry,
they
bro.
had to go. Yeah, so there was like a 4-month period where we didn't have any of those. It was pretty messed up. And then
Were those on the Mac Daddy subs? Was that line?
Yeah, so that had that big Neo magnet. You know, it came in, looked like a nuclear warhead. It was gray, composite cone. Looked really nice. They had the mid bass to go with it. That had these giant aluminum passive crossovers that everyone's like, oh. you know, and then like they started having their amplifiers made in Mexico, and that didn't go well. And then they sold the company, and needless to say, we backed out of it at one point. And so that was the end of that. But what we had learned from all of that, which is where we're going with this, is that if we're just going to sell the same thing, like a 212 box. So we sold two 12-inch diamonds in a ported enclosure. And we had mapped the ported enclosure. We'd built hundreds of them, if not thousands of them, and probably more like thousands of them, because I was building those things like that's why I hate building boxes now, because that woofer, legit, that woofer killed me. Because that's what I would do in my free time, is just make 212 ported enclosures. I had it was an assembly line. It was sick. Like wood would come in, and I on my panel saw I had these hinges that folded down.
Yeah.
And they were where I needed to cut. So I could go through a whole, 10 pieces of wood in one day and just have stacks of pre-cut, and then I would just, for like the next 2 days, just sit there, and then the next, and then after they're all built, I would bring them back over and I'd route out all the circles, route all the ports, and then I would just wrap them all, and some of them I'd leave not wrapped in case a guy came in and he wanted blue carpet or tan carpet or some shit like that. It was like, this fucking sucks. So, for all you wondering why I don't like building boxes, that killed me.
So some people wear like Andy, and they gotta have that blue carpet, the signature carpet.
Dude, I had a whole roll of carpet. I had a whole roll of carpet, whole roll of blue, man, because blue was a car. That was the color. It was the color, man. Yuck. Yeah. Oof.
All right. You know what? Looks like we're fixing to talk about the Flash.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
Sorry the show was short today, guys.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Next time, bro.
Yeah. My first time being late.
It happens, man. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. At least we got to talk about the topic tonight.
Yeah. For all you people that hate watch, we covered the topic.
Did we ever decide what was the right answer? Or was the right answer there is no right answer?
Yeah, the right answer is there is no right answer. Because this could also affect, like, how many subwoofers do you collect? How many do you need to collect?
All of
them. It makes it happy. You have whatever makes you
happy. I got my T3 that'll never do anything. It'll probably turn into a coffee table at some point in its life. Maybe a Christmas tree. I really that woofer is so badass. I have my Morel, which I actually want to put in something and listen to, because I've listened to those and they're so goddamn awesome. I have a big ass Ground Zero. I'd like a bigger ass Ground Zero, but
Dude, speaking of which, hint for video coming in the future, I just went and picked up an 80-pound 12-inch subwoofer.
God damn.
It does not say kicker on it. So
it does not say kicker on it?
It does not say kicker on it, no. So a little teaser for y'all. Catch us on the next show.
So real quick, T3, is that your current fave? I don't play favorites like that. I don't. I'm not that guy. I like stuff.
Not That Guy by David St. Val from Robert Spotify.
Alexa heard you.
Yeah.
Alexa, quit playing music. Nobody likes you. Alexa, quit.
I just like stuff. Can we say an amen for stuff?
Exactly. Stuff, yeah. Who doesn't like stuff?
Yeah. I want a jackhammer. That would be cool as shit. Like a jackhammer. What was it? The MTX jackhammer.
All I remember is Pimp Your Ride or whatever show it was where they got the chain hoist, like the engine hoist, and they're pulling it up to put it in someone's car. Yeah, that would be cool. I've had an MTX RFL, which is not quite the jackhammer, but I think you remember had the inverted surround.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 100 pounds.
Yeah, and Clarion had that 32-inch.
Yes, I've heard one of those within just before COVID. At one of the old school meets, someone had it in like a little Fiat or something.
I mean, that's what I would put it in.
on like the old 3 Zapco amps.
Right.
You know, like one's the power supply, one's the amp, one's this, one's that. And let me tell you, man, it was pretty impressive. It was actually a really cool system.
Yeah. So I always find it funny when say I want one of these and someone goes, I got one. I'm like, whoa, slow down. So part of wanting one is knowing that I'll never have one.
Yeah.
Because the reality is I don't want to store it.
Subwoofers are the hardest thing to collect and store.
Oh, dude, that T3 takes up so much room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
you can get quite a few amps in the same space. You can get one sub.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I cleaned all my Orion amps out of here the other day, and they're in a tote now, and they're all in one place, and it's like, oh goody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one day 10 years from now, you open it and be like, oh, Ryan, yes.
Yeah. Well, I had them at work on display, and the sun was fading the 280, and I was like, yeah, let's just put these away. Like, they need to just go into a dark hole somewhere and just, sit there for another 20 years, and I'll pull them out and I go, oh yeah, I remember 20 years. Okay, maybe 10 years. Yeah. So, all right, let's get on to the next show. Thank you guys so much for playing along.
See you next week.
See you next week.